Hi everyone, I am here to share a look at my 2024 Week in the Life project. So for 2025, I have already documented, so I'm filming this on June 1st, 2025. I've already documented my week in the life. I did it a little bit earlier than the community week because that worked better for my schedule. But this is last year's album, so 2024. I worked in the 6x8 size in this super fun day of the week album that was available from Allie's shop as part of the 2024 Week in the Life collection. So let's dive in. That's mostly what I'm using. Couple things from my stash, but I'm using the main kit for Week in the Life. I'm also using the You and Me add-on, and some pieces from that as well. So, and most of it is physical product with a couple of digitals mixed in. So right here on the front inside cover, I used a few of those vellum pieces to just create a little bit of interest over here to go along. This is an old divider from my stash, maybe one little word that I had in there with the sort of Swiss dot pattern, or not Swiss dot, plus signs pattern on there. And I used this big word us came from the You and Me kit. And then these were all pieces from the main kit. I think the vellum pieces also came from the You and Me kit. And they're used throughout. Love these tags, these long like word phrase strips. So here I've got the dates that I documented last year. I always like to start this project off with a family photo of the three of us. So this was one that we took on Easter a couple of weeks right before this project, and just added that little vellum, our story on top. On the back, I think this was an idea maybe inspired by Morgan Beale. I'm not positive, but using this paper, this was in the main kit. And then it already had the dies cut in it. So it was the 6 holes or spaces for content. So I did a photo of each of us with stickers, number stickers to indicate our current age, a couple of the vellum pieces, and one of the ampersands with a little bit of chipboard here at the bottom. So my formula for each day is pretty straightforward. I'm starting each day with the day of the week transparencies. I believe these were 10x8 and I just cut them down to work in my 6x8 album. And then for each day I've stitched on the plastic day of the week in color, that plastic embellishment. Nothing on the back. I just didn't feel like it needed it. So then I start with a full page photo outside the page protector with one of those strips on there. So it's day of the week was, and then I've just handwritten in a summary sentence about the day or summary phrase of the day. On the back, these are journaling cards that I made myself. So this is an old kind of template. This is from maybe 2019. Week in the Life, maybe 2019. And I didn't buy that kit physically, but I bought that kit digitally. And so I had the template and then I just swapped out. I actually used the digitals, I believe, from the transparencies and found where like this, you can see back here, this whole Monday is here. And so I just kind of clipped that digitally, cropped that out, and then made that here for my week in the life. And then the colors match the color of the day through the kit. So on Monday, my journaling was all about real life is. So you'll see the space for the date and then the storylines for that day. Then I've got 2 4x6 photos, actually 4 4x6 photos. And then on the back here, I've used the day of the week card to indicate and just handwritten in a high from the day and a low moment from the day, and then just some journaling about the day. Each day includes on the 3x4 page protector, each day includes a shot of the weather out our front window. And for this, I'm using the WeatherShot app, and it gives me all the information about like my location and the date, the time, and the sunset and all that stuff. And then each day I've got one of the vellum 3x4 like frame Polaroid cards in here, and I've done a little photo on each side with some word phrase stickers from my stash. On the back, each day includes just one single story highlighted on the 3x4 day of the week card. And then here I've got a 6x8 page that I've made by combining the 3x8 morning, afternoon, evening card. I've used those to document our meals for the day. And then I've actually just sort of sandwiched them between what's on the back and glued in, like use some adhesive here to glue in the other part of that leftover transparency, because I cut them down from 10x8. So I had a strip here. And then you'll see the color coordinating story chipboard. And then on the back is a 3x8 photo for each day. And I've used one of the plus sign, are they called Swiss crosses or something? I don't know. Plus sign vellum piece on the back of that day in the week, transparency. Then for each day, I have the 2x2 pockets, and I've used the me, you, and us cards that came in the you and me kit. I really liked those for just a little snippet about either me and my husband, or me and the dog, and us as a couple, or us as a family of 3. And then each day has the banner for the day of the week, vellum, heart. These things might change, I can't remember. And some photos on the front. And then on the back, I included memorabilia. So this is stuff that we've collected throughout the weeks. A couple of times there's photos if I had, more spaces filled in on the front and I needed to fill them in on the back. And then I'm ending each day with a 6x8 photo in a page protector with the day of the week chipboard. And this is just screenshot template. So just different screenshots. Our lunch pickup, grocery pickup, my Instagram, what I'm listening to on Spotify, my deliveries app to track, some news, some text messages. So that's a mix throughout the week just to show sort of like what we do on our phones. So then we move into Tuesday, and you're going to see the same formula throughout Tuesday. So big photo. Tuesday's journaling was around here. Love this photo of my husband we made frozen meals last spring for our dog, and she's like got her tongue out. So cute. A little bit of journaling from my husband's perspective, and then he doesn't write a lot. So then I just put a little song lyric quote in here about our fishing. Here you'll see, again, I'm sort of rotating the weather and the vellum card, and just for interest in something different. Meals. This is a photo that I take of some kind every year. So that's one of my repeat photos every year, is me loading or unloading the dishwasher. Trying to see if I passed. I don't think I passed it yet. There's another photo that I take every year since I started doing Week in the Life. So here our journaling is about what we do on the computer and in virtual spaces. So talking about Zooming with a friend, my husband's Teams meeting that he does every morning, and just that's how we socialize and work these days. This is all kinds of bits of things. This is part of our Chick-fil-A packaging from lunch that week. And these are things I collected virtually through the whole month of April. These are not all the things we would get in a week, because if I had to only do it in a week, I'm not even sure I could barely fill one of these. So like packaging from some of my like body stuff that I use, sunscreen and daily lotion, nose spray, receipts from the post office, just stuff I collected from the whole month. More screenshots. In here are, posts that my sister-in-law posted about my niece, news, articles, podcasts, Livy app for the library. I do try to always include a photo of our house, the front of our house. What's fun is, let's see, in 2017, which was my first week in the life, that is the year we moved into this house. Is that correct? Yes. No. Maybe? It was either that year or the year before. I can't remember which. And so it's been fun to see like our trees grow and just how our house has changed from that very first year. Wednesday's journaling was a day in time. And so here I did actually like timed journaling throughout the day. That took up a little bit more space. So you can see I've got the 2 pages here and I just added a little bit of digital. This is a digital stamp from Allie before moving into my big photo there on the back. So some days that changes depending on how much journaling I have. If I have 2 pages of journaling, I think I have a full-size photo on the back of those pages. Wednesdays, highs and lows. My husband hiding in the dog crate to scare her. So funny. This is journaling. I talked about me and our dog Ruby. So the me and you was her and I talking about how we spend time together throughout the day. For this I did, these were 2 vellum pieces that were, I think they're vellum. Yeah, that were included in the You and Me kit, your stuff and my stuff. So for here, I did just a couple of snippets of like our most used items. So like my husband's workspace that he had set up at the table, my workspace in my office, our most loved worn shoes, my morning stuff, his morning stuff, my nighttime stuff, and then some of our hobby stuff. So stamping and fishing. Fun photo of us high-fiving after we made the bed. More screenshots, our thermostat, weather, our charging app for the car. Thursday's journaling was about our routines. So I wrote about morning, afternoon, and evening routines around here. Full-size photos up close. Here I decided to use the currently tag that was part of I think it was part of the main kit. Maybe the You and Me, I'm not positive, I can't remember. And it just had the ing words on it. So I had my husband do his and then I did mine. Just as something different to add in. Fun photo, walking the dog. This photo is the other photo that I take every year of my feet at the door, going out, coming in. It's just something I snapped the very first time I did Week in the Life, and I don't know, I just like it. I like it as a story. I like it as a repetition every year. So here, this is me like getting a package off the front porch. Here, I didn't have that journaling for the day. I just didn't. I mean, by Thursday, sometimes the story well runs dry. And so what I did here instead of just doing additional stories, again, because I did so much writing here, I just put a photo in that place instead of more words. Anything you see that's been covered up is for privacy. There's a couple places where I've flipped photos too. This is about getting out of bed and into bed at night and just some of our sleep routine. More ephemera, a couple of photos included. My little cinnamon roll pup there. Getting into bed, that's another photo that I like to take throughout the week and each year usually. Moving into Friday. So Friday, we did a what are we into right now? So we talked about music, TV and movies, games, outdoors, and food. So those are just some of the things that we're thinking about or being intentional about. We had steamed crabs at my parents' house with the whole family for my mom's birthday on that Friday. So that was a fun Week in the Life treat. Here my sister is teaching my nephew and my niece how to clean their crabs, and same thing with my brother and my niece over here. So that's super fun and special for us as Marylanders. A family photo, which is fun to include. I don't always get that. So that's my side of the family. And then I gave my niece the phone for a while. She's, 12 at this point in time. And so she took some funny, the teens are all into the 0.5 photos. So she took that one, which I loved including. This is a fun shot at the grocery store, doing a little bit of work. And here I didn't have enough photos, so I just put one of those quote cards in from the kit. Fun birthday photos. Nighttime photos, those are always fun to include, just something a little different. Starting to run out of ephemera, as you can tell. Here I'm just talking about work. And so my husband, me, and then a little story about us right now. There's a photo of the front of my parents' house, which is where I spent my teenage and young adult years. And they still live there, and there's some changes and additions, but again, something fun to include that I don't always get to include in Week in the Life. More screenshots. Saturday was a fun game day with my sister and her husband. So that's a top-down photo. I set the photo either up on the tripod or on our chandelier that hangs above our dining table, and got that one. So today's journaling was today, I, you, and we. So just sort of using that lens to tell stories throughout the day. More photos in place of journaling here. By the weekend, I was what I needed to say was summed up in this journaling. So that was just additional tidbits that I didn't always have. Here we've got a nice photo I set up on our kitchen counter to capture my husband's side of the family had come over for dinner. And so just us sitting around the table. My mother and his mother's birthdays are one day apart. So we usually always celebrate them the same weekend. So I had my mother-in-law's birthday. We hosted our fun food for that day. Overindulgent for sure. The nephews. By Saturday, I'm down to a 4x8 instead of the full 6x8 for those. So I just cut off the outside there. So a couple photos, and then mostly ephemera and stories about the kind of donuts that we like from this donut place that my sister brought in the morning. This was a fun photo that I took of my husband sleeping in the chair at the end of the night on Saturday as I was heading up to bed. So, just a couple of our lights on. I think we had watched a movie or something, so we had the lights turned down low. So fun play with light and dark. Sunday, we went fishing on Sunday. So a nice photo of the pier. You got the fishing rod here. Sunday, I want to remember journaling on Sunday of this project just to help me sort of summarize our life right now. Mailbox photo, that's always a fun one. I don't do it every year, but it's a fun one. My husband caught his first snakehead, which is an invasive fish in our area, but they're supposed to be really delicious and yummy. I can only partially attest to that because on Sunday I was preparing for my very first colonoscopy, which happened on Monday or Tuesday of the following week. So I was on a restricted diet at this point. So I only got a bite of fish, which I wasn't even supposed to have. But it was really good. And so we took some over to my husband's grandfather who lives nearby. So he grilled it up and wanted to share it with him because they bond over fishing a lot. His grandfather used to do a lot of fishing, so that was super fun. I realized today, as I was flipping back through this, my journaling here, some of it is from Saturday. So I don't know what happened, but it doesn't matter now. It's in there. Photos of us getting ready to go fishing. packing up the cooler and all that good stuff. There's the fish. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Our journaling here is talking about our experiences fishing. My husband's been catching lots of things. I have been catching nothing. And then just talking about how we like spending that time regardless. A couple more pieces of ephemera and some mixed in photos. Mostly of some dog thing. We got some new dog gear for the pup. Smooch in bed to close out Sunday night. And then, yeah, just some more screenshots. So that is my week in the life from 2024. I hope to share in the coming weeks, as soon as I get them done, 2025's week in the life. I haven't started the album yet, but all my content is ready to go. So thanks so much for watching. If you've got any questions, please leave them in the comments below, and I will see you next time. Thanks. Bye.